Hey y'all, how you doing? I'm doing okay, I guess. Uh, Fed all my tarantulas last night, and that was quite satisfying, especially seeing some of my very little ones either take the cricket I offered if I had one small enough, or with some of my tinier ones, I gave them just a cricket leg, which even the cricket leg was bigger than they were, but they took it and ate it. So, that's always satisfying. So, yeah, I was doing that last night from like before 10 o'clock until about 1. When you've got 65 tarantulas, it takes a little bit of time to do the feeding, especially because I feed and water at the same time. So, it was a long day and night. Uh, this month is always a hard month, but I'm fighting to get through to remember but not swirl out of control. 10 10 7 years ago today, I laid my daddy to rest in the grave. That's never a day you really want to remember. We had a lot of friends and family out. One of the ladies my mom and dad both knew, Joan Southard, she actually, I had been talking to her because I knew she'd want to know what was going on with daddy since mom had been gone, and her and dad had kept in touch. So over the 6 months of dad's ordeal, I had, kept her updated. So when he died, she actually flew out here for the funeral, and it was my first time meeting her. And it was, for me, it was another one of those kind of instant connections that I love finding. She and I just really clicked. She couldn't stay long. She had to fly out later that day. But it was really great meeting her, but it was also great getting to know her, to be able to call her a friend. We have kept in touch through that entire time. Since then, she lives on the West Coast. We don't talk all the time, but we share, and we talk on the phone, and we text, and it's good to have somebody that knew mom and dad and I can talk with. But laying daddy to rest was not easy. I don't I do not remember much of that day. I remember military funeral, 21 gun salute, and them folding up the flag to give to me. Many years ago, when my brother retired from the Navy, he had gotten his own flag and he had presented that to Daddy. So after Dad died and before the funeral, my brother and I talked about it, and because of this, as everybody calls, sacrifices I made, which to me, not 1 minute of that 6 months was a sacrifice, but because of that, he agreed that the flag from Daddy's coffin should be given to me, and he would get the one he gave to Dad back. We had people down here afterwards, friends and family. They brought food, of course. Who all was here, I couldn't say. Who all was at the actual funeral service, I couldn't say. I remember knowing that everybody was looking at me and that I felt I had to be strong for everybody else. I could cry and everything, but the only thing that kept going through my mind was I had to be strong for everybody else. My son was there. He was a great help for me, even though he himself was pretty shattered. Because of everything that had gone on between my husband and I in that 6-month period, I could not turn to him for comfort. I didn't feel comfortable. I knew he wouldn't be able to give me what I needed. Because of the rift between my dad and brother, and with my own anger at my brother, I couldn't turn to him and his family. Same thing with my aunt. The fact that just days before Daddy died, he told her to get the fuck out of his life. I couldn't turn to her. My sons have always and will always be my greatest support. And I hope they know I am theirs. But I really don't remember a lot of that day, and I don't want to. It's hard enough just thinking about what I do remember. Many months after the funeral, I was able to go with my aunt to Christiansburg, and I was able to find a nice box to put the flag in to keep it. So that was good. But I was so angry at so many people. But I kept telling myself, I haven't changed. I haven't treated people different. You know, family's the most important, and yeah, all this happened, but I understand. And I kept telling myself these things because I was trying to convince myself that they were true, and they weren't. I was so hurt and bitter and angry, and I unintentionally took all that out on the people around me. And I do regret that. I've tried to make amends for it and apologize and explain. And I didn't do it for them. I did it to help myself heal. The anger and disappointment that I was holding on so tightly to was serving no purpose in my life. And I had to really not agree, but I had to convince myself to let all that go so it didn't poison me even more. My husband told me time and again that, you know, I put him down and belittled him and made horrendous comments, even out in public and around people. And at the time, I denied it. I'm like, I'm not. I'm not treating you any other way, but I'm just, keeping you out of my life, basically. But I treated him terribly. And I did have the touch. I had the chance to talk with him and explain and help him understand where it was all coming from, because he didn't know. He wasn't a mind reader. I wasn't telling him anything. So, after the fact, after our divorce, after he moved, we were able to talk about things, and we were able to clear things up. And I'm grateful we were able to do that. But it's never easy burying a loved one by any stretch. And every time you lose a loved one, the process is different. You grieve differently. With my mom, I was still living Virginia Beach area. I was on a shit ton of medicine. So I don't remember a lot about Mom's funeral and death and everything. She died not long after I left her to come home that night on the 29th. So I wasn't there when she died. It was like, I don't know, like an hour after I left her that we got the call. But we were expecting it. She was in hospice, and my mom and I, as I've said before, we had a very tumultuous relationship. But she was my mom. And I grieve her loss, but she did not have a happy life. She would not have survived what Dad went through. So I'm very glad that she died before he did, because she would not have been able to handle it. And I wouldn't want to see her go through that, because she was such a mess that it would have broken her, and she was already very broken. But with Dad, I've said it before, and I'll say it again 1,000,000 times more. The experience of what he went through, and me being by his side 24/7. That deepened our connection even more. I loved and respected him 1,000 times more than I did before the fall, and he was always on a pedestal in my eyes. And after his fall, it was even more so. And I know he saw me as his source of strength and stability in that time. I was his rock, as he said, and because of that 6-month period and what we went through, I loved him even more than I thought I could. And that's why it's been so hard to overcome and heal my shattered soul. Losing Daddy damn near broke me, and it's taken me a long time to begin the healing process. But I have finally started coming through the pain and grief. I still miss my daddy every day. That man was amazing. He was kind and compassionate, smart, wise, and he had such integrity, and he was a template that I held every man up to. And of course, every man that fell short. In my eyes, my daddy was perfect, even though I know he wasn't. But my entire life, I've looked for men that were as good as my dad, which I should never have done because I set myself up for failure every time. But daughters worship their daddies, and daddies love their little girls. That's just the way it is. So, on this day, Daddy, I may have put you in the ground 7 years ago. But you are in my heart, and I miss you, Daddy. I miss you so much. And you know I love you. And I'm trying to live. So I am gonna end this now. I thank you for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And I love y'all from the bottom of my heart. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.